Welcome to session 3AJ, being given by Ewan Stewart. I had a little trouble getting those two words out one after the other of Rocket Software. And he's going to be talking about, I'm not going to be able to say this either, millennialization, of the mainframe and beyond. Okay, it's written down, you can read it. Okay. If you have any questions, please put them in the chat. You will answer them at the end if you haven't covered them already during the presentation, the way that goes, of course. Please remember at the end of the session to fill in your feedback forms give your feedback. We do use that when we're planning the meeting or the conference for next year, as well as to provide feedback to the speakers. So, okay. We're also supporting two charities this year. I'm sure you've heard this before. The RNLI lifeboats are very important charity to do a lot of life saving and things around the coast, and also to the guide dogs for the blind. So please give generously, show your appreciation for the time that the speakers are taking to provide this content. And for every £1 you donate, you will be able to have a raffle ticket, a ticket in the raffle. Okay, so without anything else, I will hand you over to Ewan for the next 40 minutes, maybe. Yeah. And enjoy the session.
Okay, brilliant. Oh, thank you, Anna, and thank you everyone for joining us today. So my name is Ewan Stewart, and I work for a company called Rocket Software. I was up until recently part of ASG. Those of you who are in the know will know that Rocket acquired ASG earlier this year. So I'm now part of the wider organization that is Rocket. My role, I run a technical pre-sales and professional services team for our systems business in Europe. My background is kind of a bit mixed. I have some background in mainframe through IBM and running Z or Z cloud, depending on which side of the Atlantic you're in, environments, but also I have a lot of experience in running projects in open systems as well. My topic today is millennialization of the mainframe and beyond, and I will go on to explain what that is in a second. Yeah, this is a slide on the charity raffle. You know, absolutely agree with Anna. I live in a coastal town. The lifeboat institution is critical to these towns. So, you know, dig in. The prizes, I generally believe, are this pretty good. So I will certainly be buying some tickets myself. Okay, here's your agenda. So agenda today. So firstly, let's understand a few quick facts about mainframes in general. We'll then discuss silo-centric thinking, what it means and what the consequences of it are. We will then discuss the integration of DevOps, value stream management, and orchestration and automation in today's mainframe environment. We'll continue on with the discussion on how the mainframe should be seen as just another platform within the IT service. And finally, we conclude with a summary of the knowledge we've gained from this presentation. And as Anna said, we'll do a Q&A at the end, should anyone have any questions. Okay, so without further ado, let's move on to the first topic, which is the mainframe today. So what role does the mainframe, you know, which, you know, has been repeatedly declared dead, still play in today's IT landscape? Well, the reality is that it's still very, very important, and in many ways continues to become more important. You know, the predicted growth from now until 2025 of the mainframe will be around 4.3% PA, and 90% of all data center managers see the mainframe and the data on it as the foundation for new applications. Unfortunately, it must also be said that 71% of the mainframe teams that are out there at the moment are currently understaffed, and that 56% of organizations have a shortage of mainframe personnel with appropriate in-depth knowledge. This is not least due to the fact that the baby boomers that have been retiring for about 10 years, and those are the employees that really kind of helped. You know, they are the founders of the mainframe. They help build it. They know every aspect of it. You know, and those people are now leaving the marketplace. So a few more facts. 92% of the world's top 100 banks use mainframes, 23 of the world's top 25 retailers use mainframes, all of the world's top 10 insurers use mainframes. Mainframes hold 80% of the world's business data, handle over 85% of all credit card transactions, handle 68% of IT production workloads, yet account for just 6% of its costs. And even today, 65% of all active code is COBOL. We hear a lot about digital transformation. It's a word that gets, you know, a phrase that gets used a lot in the modern IT world. So what relevance does it have to the mainframe? Well, neglecting the systems that support enterprise operations poses a real risk for digital transformation efforts. A holistic digital transformation strategy includes not only customer-facing applications, but the enterprise applications working beneath the surface. So you can see here my picture of an iceberg. That dark blue line that goes across it is meant to be the water. So above the water line, like in an iceberg, you only see a little bit of it, which is the systems of engagement. And below that, the water line, you have the systems of insight and the systems of record, which comprise the vast majority of you know, the systems that are required to run IT services. So the systems of engagement support the acquisition, servicing, and retention of customers, e.g. things like mobile apps, messaging, e-commerce, web pages, etc., etc. That's kind of your systems of engagement. Beneath that, you have your systems of insight, which are generally kind of there to support the ability to harness and consistently turn data into action. So that would be things like your business intelligence analytics, predictive analytics, artificial intelligence, etc. And then beneath that, the bulk of the systems of record provide the backbone for business execution. They support the internal operations of the enterprise, and that would include things like CRM, HR, ERP, you know, supply chain management, financials, accounting, etc. They contain the data that the systems of engagement and the system of insight rely on to be effective and cover a broad array of the company's software systems. Systems of record can take up to 80% of the company's code can be in the systems of record, and it's here that the mainframe predominantly resides. SOE and SOI can provide full context without accessing the data and processes in the systems of record. The challenge is that systems of record have traditionally been built for stability, to automate core processes and transactions and to ensure compliance rather than for speed. But digital businesses need velocity, and to meet this need for speed, organizations must modernize the system of record. You know, I joined IT into the IT world at the, you know, kind of during the dot-com boom, as was normal for people of my generation. And I will give you a clue, I'm at the back end of Generation X. It has to be said that certainly at that time, working on systems of engagement and the systems of insight were the glamour roles in IT. But the reality is that the majority of the interesting transformational work will come in the systems of record space. That's a fact that should be remembered when competing for IT staff in the marketplace. In other words, lots of interesting work coming up in the mainframe. So from baby boomer to Generation Z or Z, depending again which side of the lentille you're on. Who are the millennials? So the mainframe is obviously still a very critical part of the infrastructure of many companies and will continue to be so in the future. When we see today's allocation of mainframe professionals, a good proportion of those still sit in the baby boomer generation, the immediate post-war population. However, the majority of that generation are, you know, either close to retirement or are retiring, you know, as we speak. Gen X form about 23% of the current mainframe skilled group. It should be said that however, that the vast majority of Gen X people tend to be from the early part of Gen X, so those kind of born in the 60s. Far less, you know, far fewer people like myself born in the 70s went into mainframe. As I say, we tended to go more towards web development, things like that. So we can see then that there is a significant, you know, problem here in that, you know, circa 70% of people involved today in mainframe are there or thereabouts in terms of retirement, and therefore, you know, and Gen X is not going to be fixing the problem because there is this gap in the latter part of Gen X where people just didn't go into mainframe. So, you know, we are looking, companies, you know, at a time of increasing mainframe workloads will be looking to the millennial generation, that is people born from 81 through to sort of the mid 90s, and indeed Gen Z from, you know, born in the late 90s to pick up, you know, the workload that is currently, you know, that is currently sat with the older generations. So, you know, I think in terms of, you know, we're approaching a cliff edge, and clearly, you know, the answer is, you know, young mainframers are the way forward, and therefore investing in them, and in both in terms of tool set and training is clearly critical. At conferences like GuideShare, I know we're not doing face-to-face, but certainly when I've, you know, appeared at events in the past that are the face-to-face events, it's pleasing to see that there are a significant number of young people in the halls, and I'm sure that will continue to grow over the following years. So in the mainframe world, as per the rest of the IT world, the #1 priority is to keep the lights on. But how do we ensure that? So we can invest in the right tools. Through the use of automation and monitoring, you can ensure that production is running and the human factor or influence is reduced to a minimum. However, this presupposes that automation and monitoring have been implemented and the integration with DevOps has been completed so that business can react quickly to new market situations. Moving on then, so eliminate silo-centric thinking. So no presentation of mainframe, I don't think, is complete without a slide on silo-centric thinking. So The value creation of a company inevitably requires contributions from all technology stacks in the company. This means that the value stream, the end-to-end process that generates value for the company, must be supported by many or all of the technology stacks in the company. Coordinating value creation across all technology stacks is a major challenge. Siloed thinking, however, has hitherto prevented an efficient implementation and coordination of value creation across stacks. Today, it's important to no longer think in silos, but to act in a business-orientated manner. So this next slide, deliberately very messy. So every company has a complex scenario in terms of the ability to do the required work. This graphic may seem a bit extreme, but it represents exactly what you'll find in many companies today. Even with a high degree of automation that we have, there is still a lot of self-written software that connects applications with each other using proprietary techniques, as well as a lot of undocumented scripts that nobody understands today, but are still used essentially in production environments. We need to be able to tie together all of the different technology silos and data silos that we have in order to achieve our end-to-end value streams. In addition, the time to value is an extremely important key performance indicator for our customers and companies. Those who deliver faster than the competition will have an advantage. So we've mentioned a bit about DevOps and automation and value stream management. So I'll now go on to kind of explain a bit more what I mean about that. So let's take a look at the evolution in automation. So the first so-called workload automation tools came into the market around 40 years ago. These have got better and better over the years. However, the motto was that what could not be automated out of the box was implemented with scripting, etc. This type of problem solving can no longer be maintained today with generally reduced number of employees. So today we're on the threshold of moving from process automation to business controlled automation. In the future, manual repetitive tasks will be taken over by robots and AI. This will relieve the employees and free up their capacities for more intelligent work. Mainframes obviously have had automation capability for many years, but not all of these technologies can successfully integrate with the rest of the IT organization. And without this capability, some form of manual stroke customized intervention is required. And this obviously introduces risk and complexity into the system. We've talked a bit about DevOps. So DevOps is a tool-based philosophy. It was developed as a concept sort of around the back end of the 2010s. And from around 2015, interest in DevOps has increased significantly to the point where most organizations either are doing it or are somewhere in the process of attempting to do it. Basically, DevOps is about changing the IT organization to make it more flexible, dynamic, and ultimately more effective. This streamline is necessary because of the previous way of developing applications was becoming more and more inflexible, consuming too many resources and limiting the ability of IT to react to the changes in business needs, market situations, etc. So, I mean, we have the DevOps lifecycle here, and I'm sure most of you are kind of familiar with this. And obviously, the whole purpose of it is to try and, not have development and operations as two separate standalone functions, that they're integrated together. DevOps ultimately at its heart is a tool-based philosophy. So, and there are lots and lots of tools in the market that will help you deliver DevOps capability. Most of these tend to focus on one or two parts of the DevOps lifecycle. However, there are some that will span the whole DevOps lifecycle. It's important to note in DevOps that it's meant to be all-encompassing with no parts of an IT organization excluded. and that includes the mainframe. So, you know, you can't do DevOps properly if you ignore one of the technology stacks in your company. So we've talked a bit about value stream. So what is a value stream? So a value stream comprises all the activities that are required to generate product or service. It originated as a concept in the car manufacturing industry, but has since become popular in a wide variety of businesses, used in many industries now. Essentially, a value stream is constructed of several processes and tasks that constitute everything needed to produce something of value to the business. Value streams can contain human as well as IT tasks. The IT tasks may span multiple technology platforms and bring those together. Therefore, it is reasonable to conclude that mainframes must be considered in a value stream management approach. So how do we bring all this together? Well, here's an example of an application development and publication value stream. This value stream makes use of popular DevOps tools to aid the process. The value stream may incorporate multiple platforms such as mainframes and open systems. It also incorporates a cloud hosting platform in this example. In this example, the entirety of the value stream is orchestrated by ASG Enterprise Orchestrator. Each step of the value stream is automated and monitored to ensure maximum efficiency in delivery and to eliminate the mistakes that can occur with manual or custom scripted handoffs between the tasks. Enterprise Orchestrator is able to handle all of this across the technology stack, including, importantly, the mainframe. So another topic or theme I want to talk about. So mainframe should be seen as just another platform. So mainframe as a component of service. In order to make our new mainframe professionals successful, the mainframe has to present itself like an additional component or an additional service in their toolkit. The mainframe supports any type of technology that may be considered the newest and most modern, be it through abstracted services presented via APIs, be it machine learning and/or artificial intelligence, or through the latest cryptographic and secure connection technologies. So context switching. So when we talk to the aspiring mainframe professionals about what their expectations are, new graphical user interfaces are mentioned in particular. So millennial mainframers have grown up in a world with smartphones and other tools with sophisticated user interfaces. Older mainframers will obviously be more familiar with and indeed prefer 3270 displays because that's how they learned it. However, aspiring specialists who are not familiar with ISPF panels or other special functions of TSO must have tools with integrated and graphical options for interacting with the mainframe in order to become successful. It's important to be able to work consistently in the same environment without having to switch from one application to the other over and over again. So this is the so-called context switching, which is actually a significant interruption in performance, especially when performing a very complex project. It can take upwards of 20 minutes following a context switch to restore productivity levels to the levels that they're at prior to the context switch. And so it's necessary, therefore, to look at tools that reduce context switching in order to sort of maintain that productivity and indeed to accommodate the needs of the millennial mainframer. So the millennial mainframer will look for modern user interfaces, as I mentioned. Here's an example of how modern UIs, so user interfaces, can make dealing with the mainframe easier. So Enterprise Orchestrator, of which this is a screenshot, makes extensive use of graphical UIs, for instance, and that's just one example. There are obviously many more. In this example here, we have a a graphic, a visualization of the value stream. So again, pictures paint 1,000 words, you know, and for a lot of people, you know, especially your millennial programmers, they're used to seeing their information graphically, nicely presented. And so this helps you understand, you know, all the components in a value stream in one place. It's very easy to follow. You can see how things link together. You can see exactly what all the components are, and you can see the entire value stream from start to finish on one page. You're not having to follow it in any script or in some series of lines of text or numbers on a screen. Much easier to use, and it's certainly something that any modern mainframe application should you know look to harness. Again, this is another example of a modern user interface. So in this case, we have these lovely multicolored bubbles. So this is part of ASG's Timon Scope product, and you know, it's performance monitoring and alerting. And you know, it uses colors, and the bigger the bubble and the brighter the color, the more likely there is, you know, it will draw your eye to that automatically. Biggest problems, most easy to visually identify. And so it's a way of making it very quick and easy to identify where you might have issues and to go and tackle them. Again, a lot easier to do than looking at a screen full of text and numbers. So DevOps interfaces and continuous integration, continuous development automation. So in this case, we have an example of how ASG/Rocket's job control management solutions, ProJCL and JobScan can be integrated into existing DevOps processes. So Eclipse, IBM, IDZ, Visual Studio Code, and BMC Topaz are widely used open source Java integrated development environments, also called IDEs. The advantage of this is that there are almost infinite number of adaptations and expansions. In our example, communication between the development environments and the mainframe job control management solutions take place via RESTful interface or web services. Existing DevOps CI/CD processes can be integrated and automated in the JCL development process. This scenario is especially advantageous for new employees who work in the mainframe. The work efficiency increases because no context switching has to be done. All activities are initiated from the IDEs. So, coming to our conclusions then, enabling your next-gen / millennial workforce. So, to conclude, I'd like to summarize the 5 most important points to act upon so that your company can keep the lights on. So 1, try to eliminate all siloed thinking. The business does not see itself as a set of IT components, and the IT service should not be set up that way. You know, the mainframe should not stand in isolation. I know traditionally mainframers were quite often, you know, organizationally and indeed sometimes physically segregated from, you know, their colleagues. You know, that shouldn't be. I know we're all physically isolated now with working at home, but you know, when we do eventually get back into offices, clearly, you know, we expect IT to be a more integrated and joined up organization. 2, introduce value stream automation and orchestration where the business demands it. It's not IT that should determine what's automated, but the business. Integrate mainframe transactions into your value streams as you would do any other technology. There is no need for those to stand alone, and indeed no benefit. 3, ensure that you automate your DevOps. This will maximize productivity and reduce time to market. Again, mainframe should definitely be part of this. 4, modernize your tool set. Your millennial mainframers will require tools that look, feel, integrate like those in other platforms. So, you know, the era of the green screen should be fading out, and you know, everything should look much like it would do if you're a developer in open systems. The mainframe should really just be another platform. And then finally, invest in training and the millennial generation. If you're looking around at your mainframe team and it consists largely of baby boomers, then you're not preparing for the future. And you will be heading for that cliff edge I talked about earlier. And we don't want that. And that indeed is part of the reason why we are here and GuideShare is here. So that concludes my presentation. So thank you very much for listening. We have this feedback slides. If you want to take I'll leave this slide up for a bit if you want to take the QR code thing and do the feedback. I would be most grateful to hear your comments. But I'll now throw the floor open to any questions that anyone may have. Anna, is there any questions at all?
I haven't seen any questions in the chat. However, I've now allowed you to unmute yourself. So if you would like to add any questions, literally straight to Ewan, or if you'd just like to have a discussion amongst yourselves on the content of the session, that could also be useful. Just to repeat, please do your feedback forms. The session is 3AJ. The one of the questions, I can never remember which one, is about the length of the session. You don't want a 9, that means it was too long. you want a 5, which is, you know, it was about right. You could go in either direction, but if you're just used to going down, going 9, 9, 9, 9, 9, or 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, or whatever it is, 9, I think on here, then that really won't help that question.
Yeah, I hope it wasn't too long because I haven't filled the full hour. So
no, well, you're getting a comment there that it was a great presentation. And again, to show your appreciation, the charities are there for you to do that. Obviously, you've been able to attend this conference for free. Normally, it would cost you. So just, you know, just a few pounds will go a long way with everybody doing it. Yep. If your company is not already a member of the GSE, and in fact there are individual memberships available, but if your company is not a member of GSE and you think they should be, then there are some specific benefits there, and there is a link at the bottom, a website to go to for more information.
Yeah, I mean, if anyone wants to reach out to me, you know, they don't want to bring it out in the chat, but they want to reach out to me, I'm very easy to find on LinkedIn. The advantage of having a name like you and Stuart is there's not many of us kicking around. So please feel free to message me on LinkedIn, you know, and I'll be happy to have a conversation with you offline. But I think we're probably done here, Anna, are we? And,
yes, I think so. So if we were face to face, I would be leading the applause.
Thank you. And let's hope next year we are back face to face and we can. Yeah,
it's certainly a plan. Of course,
yeah.
Life interferes with plans, but you know, it's a plan.
Okay.
So I hope you all enjoyed the session, and see some of you at the next one.
Great. Thank you.
I'll close the session now.